underside of it. And because of the lighting, we couldn't see if there was any superstructure under there or anything. But this laser beam came from the same spot, and it just danced all over our campsite. It would land one spot for a millisecond, then blink off, and then reappear in another spot, and do that 10 times a second, so that this thing was just dancing all over the place. And it hit me in the chest at least once, and I know it hit my buddy. It hit our car, it hit our tent, and I had the feeling, this thing is scanning us. And I think that's what it was doing. It was scanning us. And that lasted for probably 3 minutes. That lasted a little bit longer. And then that turned off, again, just like someone flipped a switch. So we sat there in this dead silence and just sat there and looked at this thing over our heads. And now, this is hard to believe, but, I'm telling you, this is what we did. My buddy said, well, show's over, and he picked up his air mattress, and he headed for the tent. And suddenly, all I wanted to do was go to sleep. I wanted nothing to do with this triangle, or camping, or campfires, or anything. I just wanted to lay my head down and go to sleep. And I didn't bother to undress, even take my boots off. And I threw my air mattress in after he did, and, he just fell face first on his. I wanted my head near the front of the tent for some reason. That's what I did. And, as soon as my head hit the pillow, the last thought that I had was that he had been wrong, because the crickets and the tree frogs did not come back. It was still absolute silence. And I was out. I was out like unconscious.
Interesting. You know why they were out? Because they were scared. When they hear a noise, the first thing they do is they think predator, so they quiet down. So whatever was going on, it scared all the wildlife, it scared the insects, it scared everything.
That's a good point. And that may be the reason why it's such a universal thing. Why you hear that said so often by so many people that go through this experience, that it makes it sound cliche, but it's not cliche, it's the truth, and that makes sense. And when whatever influence we were under from this thing, when we woke up later, after we had been abducted and subjected to all kinds of terror, I'll tell you, all of that sedated effect was gone. We were absolutely scared out of our wits. And you make a good point. And, I think there's a kind of fear that comes from the lower part of our brainstem, the more primitive part, that was developed whenever we were hiding in caves at night when the tables were turned and we were the prey. And there's that kind of instinctual fear that's left over.
Well,
maybe that's what the insects said.
Yeah. But you know what? Even when you're a kid, you remember when you saw a scary movie, you went to bed at night, and then all of a sudden you hear a noise, and what did you do? I know what I did. I pulled a blanket over my head, like it's going to protect me. But seriously, you, from a young kid all the way up, that is instilled in you. So I can imagine when somebody encounters something like that, what they go through emotionally. Now, in your case, you guys fell asleep and then you were abducted or whatever happened. We'll find that out here. But, all the reports I've gotten from people, it's all the same thing, that when they were abducted, either they were stunned or they were sleeping or they were in a daze. And I tell you, I like I mentioned last time you were on the show, I do get some people that claim that these alien abductions are here to help people, to help our planet, to help them if they got a disease. Now, maybe when they, for some reason, they might show some compassion, and if somebody has a cancer or they have something wrong, they might fix it. while they're exploring their body. Maybe they're not doing it actually to help the person. They're just doing it because they're doing it. I don't know. I don't think they show any compassion. Do you?
I don't. At least the ones I ran into don't. I mean, I can't judge other people's stories, but, I have a hard time believing that we live in the world that we live in if we had a benevolent species looking after us. There's a UFO investigator, and you know who I'm talking about, but I won't name him on air, who's an MD. And I was talking to him, and he toes the line that ET is here to help us ascend and rise to a higher level. And I asked him, I said, Doctor, let me just ask you one question. If these things cared about us, and as you say, they've been here for thousands of years, why wouldn't they have pulled aside an academic, like a famous doctor or someone, pulled them aside and just said, hey, guys, wash your hands before surgery, and you can go from a 30% survival rate to a 70% survival rate. Why would they do something that simple? They didn't have to give us technology. A little bit of guidance, a little bit of kind guidance would have saved millions of lives. But they didn't do that.
No.
So that, to me, points to the fact that have they been here so many years watching us? Why let us do stupid things? With just a word in our ear, wash your hands, doctor,
Well, you remember back, even like in the Civil War, for example, I'm just going to use that. And we can go back even before that. But, during the battlefields, they would be touching, each patient, from one patient to another patient. They never thought about washing their hands. They would wipe the blood off, but they never washed or sterilized anything. They would use the same equipment after they amputated somebody's leg or arm to the next patient. On and on. And a lot of the survival of those people that were wounded didn't die from their initial wounds. They died from, I hate to say it, from the surgeon, trying to save them because, the bacteria, the infections that set in. And oh, wow. If they were here, like you said, to help mankind, they would be helping us. But I haven't seen anything where they have, tried to help us. All I ever get from people, I'll be honest with Terry, and I pull out what little hair I have left at my age, is when they start saying, James, you know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Yeah, go ahead.
That they give off orbs, and they give off warmth, and they make me feel good. Well, you know what? They're brainwashing you. They don't want you to remember what they were doing, sticking needles in you, opening you up, examining you, taking your eggs, taking your sperm, taking your DNA. They don't want you to know that. So they make you go away feeling good. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I couldn't agree with you more. James, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, perfect example, like you were telling about your lady friends when they saw that big fair or the thing went around where they abducted or where the aliens, whatever, made them think what they want. That whole scenario, I tell you, it's so exactly what you mentioned is in that miniseries Taken by Steven Spielberg. The aliens did the same things. They'd get in your brain, whatever you liked or felt good about, they would mimic that, and it would lull you in, and then they would do whatever they do. And this went all through the years with these abductees, and just that action alone is nefarious. I mean, when you're mimicking something and these kind of things, it's all negative. And Gary, you know how many people we had, even Colin Parker, these are evil things that these things are doing, but regardless of what they are or where they're from, when you abduct somebody against their will and do things against them, it's wrong. And I have found throughout the years, a lot of these people, they start out, it's evil and it's wrong. Then you see that they change, it's okay, but it's not. I think it's something they implant, memories that it's okay, and it's not okay. They try to change the way you think. So you're not saying it's not okay, but it's not okay.
Oh, James, do you remember the one guy who was a forest ranger, not a forest ranger, a wildlife agent his state. And,
Yes.
and you know, one night he comes home and he's laying in his bedroom. Now, Terry, his bedroom in the house is secluded. So he doesn't bother closing his curtains in his bedroom because there's nobody to see. He claims he saw these grays walking towards his window. And the next thing he knows, they're in his room and they're levitating him. And then he's abducted. Now, he wrote a book about owls, that all of a sudden he starts seeing owls everywhere. And he wrote a book about it, and he was on my show about it. But as soon as he told me that he was in his bed, getting ready to go to sleep, and he saw these grays walk, you know, down the driveway and then come through the wall and then take him aboard a UFO. And then all of a sudden he sees owls afterwards. I said, do you know what? Have you ever thought about maybe when you see these owls all of a sudden, which you never saw before, that many of them, that they implanted in your mind when you see something like an alien, you don't see the alien at this point, you see an owl. And so every time you see an alien, you see owls. And I kind of like deflated him because about his book. I didn't mean to do that, but I think they do. I think they implant in your brain things that change your memory of what actually happened to you. Now, I hate to do it to you again, but we need to go on break. That's why I wanted you on longer. Hey, we got more time. We got to 9 o'clock tonight if you want. So, we'll...
Absolutely.
So we'll be back in about 2.5 minutes. By the way, Terry, we have the news. So we have the news now that James is going to be giving the Earth news for the first 5 minutes. So we'll be back, actually, me and you talking in about 8 minutes. So go get a cup of Java, cup of tea, or, whatever. Get yourself a nice blankie, get on a nice chair, and get all comfortable. We'll be back with Terry Lovelace and more what happened with his abduction on Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark.
Selfish and cruel since his youthful days in school. His siblings he never did treat well. His self-centered bent was his dark side lament, with a focus on hypnotizing spell. He memorized laws to help sharpen his claws for a future for which he was bent. The time would surely come when for office he would run and claim he was just heaven sent.
Another politician has just taken center stage. He tells all the people that he loves them so. He comes on like a sage, says with him they should engage. A false prophet selling endless empty prose.
Stepped over dead bodies on his climb to the top. The highest post was his aspiration. But he forgot to read the fine print in the contract that he signed, which caused a U-turn to his final destination. He continued on his pathway of destruction and decay, never thinking that his wicked life would end. He never did take stock that the devil is not mocked, and all those broken fences will not mend.
Another politician has just taken center stage. He tells all the people that he loves them so. He comes on like a sage, says with him they should engage. A false prophet selling endless empty prose. He feels no lament for the lives that he spent. A jackal who thinks he can't be touched. But there will come a day when the devil's birds of prey paint their canvas with his lost soul's carrion brush.
He was with his favorite call girl and his black limousine, doing lines of coke and drinking cold champagne. when it heard the distant rumble of 1,000 bat-like wings, an explosion which caused his ears to